We're going to review a little bit of what we did yesterday, and then we're going to add to it today. We're going to talk about parallel lines. What are a couple of things, raise your hand, that we know about parallel lines? Diana? They don't intersect. What else? Austin? They go on forever. Yes, but what in particular?
They're coplanar.
They're coplanar. So they're on the same plane. They'll never intersect. Okay? They're on the same plane. They never intersect. I know that you can't really see it, but I promise on this screen these are two parallel lines. What would the symbol look like for parallel lines? Two vertical lines. I said the Twin Towers. Yes. And then also, if that doesn't help you, look at the word parallel. Y'all see the double line. That's where parallel comes from. Okay? How would I know that two lines are parallel? The triangles or arrows. I know that you can't see on this. It'll pop up. I know that you can't see on this picture. They look like red dots, but I'll zoom in for you. Those are red triangles. Y'all see? I promise. They're not red dots. Red triangles, which would mean that they're parallel to each other. Otherwise, can we assume that they're parallel? No. Well, they look parallel. No, it's not geometry. Okay? The other thing that we went over was the word skew. What do we know about skew lines? They have nothing in common. Why do they have nothing in common? That's exactly correct. RJ, what are you thinking? They don't intersect. What else? They're not on the same plane. Not on the same plane. They don't intersect. They literally have nothing to do with each other. All right, so in this picture, we have a line coming straight up through the plane. And then we have line R that's just on the plane. Okay, they will never intersect. They'll never touch. They'll never meet. It's depressing, but there they are. Last thing we went over were parallel planes. What do we know about parallel planes? What is it, Trent? Yeah, two planes that don't intersect. That's literally it. All right. So that was yesterday. We talked about pairs of lines. Today we're going to talk about pairs of angles. Okay. First word that we're going to talk about is a transversal. You'll find it on your notes. I will put it in layman's terms. It is one line that cuts into two or more lines. It is one line that cuts into two or more lines. I'll show you the official definition. But it is one line that cuts into two or more lines. And then we'll talk about it. Like that. All right, so how many lines is a transversal? It's one line. All right, so that cuts into two other lines. So I drew like 5 different scenarios, okay? More often than not, you'll see these two. The rest of them you could see, possibly. So what is the one line in this picture that cuts through two or more lines? What does it look like? It's the what line? The vertical line. There's your transversal. What about in this bottom left picture? It's that horizontal type. This one? It's vertical. Because again, it's that one line that goes through more than two. So two is the third line. And then the next one? The horizontal. And then the next one? A diagonal. Even if they overlap, like here they look like they would eventually overlap, it still would be this line. Okay? So that's a transversal. Because a transversal is this is what you will normally see. It creates certain relationships that we're going to talk about. I'm showing you these two because these are the most common that you'll see, like ever. Today you're going to see a more complicated one, but on your test or your quiz, things like that, it would look like this. Okay? So let's talk about the very first, corresponding angles. You'll find a box for corresponding. Corresponding angles occupy the same position. This is where you'll want multiple colors, like it said on the screen. Corresponding angles occupy corresponding positions. So you'd want like 4 colors if I were you, but I'm not you. But if I were, here we go. So here's what this means. Corresponding angles have the same spot in the intersection. So here is the top left, okay? It will correspond with the top left in the bottom. So you will label them 1 and 5. Because they are both in the top left, okay, top of this line, left of this one, okay? Top left, that makes them corresponding. So I would write that on your paper. You can use the numbers. It doesn't necessarily matter. So 1 and 5. All right, then you'll know the top right and the top right will also be corresponding. So here, technically, that's 2 and 6.
What are the numbers?
It's just the name of the angles. That's how I reference them, that's all. We could use A, B, C, D, E, F, G if we wanted. All right, so top left, top right. What do we think is next? Bottom left. The bottom left of both of them, they're corresponding. 3 and 7. And then the bottom right, so it'd be 4 and 8. I color-coded them to show you with the big picture. Corresponding angles occupy the same spot. Are we okay with corresponding? All right, let's go to alternate. I think it's exterior is next. What does exterior mean? Outside. So here is the problem that a lot of people have. They're like, outside of what? Outside of what? So what I'm going to show you is a trick that I do. A trick that I do to figure out if they're exterior or interior. Okay? So here's what's going to happen. Alternate exterior angles, if you notice there's also on your paper, alternate interior angles. So what do you think the major difference between those two things are? One's inside, one's outside. But again, inside or outside of what? I'm going to show you. So what I do to figure out what's on the inside and what's on the outside, it's talking about the inside of the two lines. Okay, the two lines that are here. So what I usually do is I actually draw a box. Okay, between the two lines. Now, what do you think 3, 4, 5, and 6 are? Are they inside or outside? Inside. So these are called interior angles, which means the ones that are not marked yet, what do we think those are? The exterior. Okay, so that's what interior, exterior means. Alternating, because if you notice, we have alternating interior and alternating exterior. That means alternating around the transversal. Okay, what is another word for alternating in like real life? Changing. Switching. Okay, so here's what's going to happen. The first set, and I'll explain the term. The first set will be 1 and 8. So if you look, they're outside of our box. I'll draw it again. Outside of our box. And they're on opposite sides of the transversal. Okay, that's where the word alternating comes from. Here's our transversal. Okay, 1 is on the left side of the transversal. 8 is on the right side of the transversal, which is what makes them alternate and exterior. Are both of them on the inside, outside, or neither? Of the box. What do we think? They're both on the outside. They have to both be on the outside to be exterior. If they're not, then they're not that type of angle. Okay? What do we think the next set of alternate exterior will be? We already have 1 and 8. 2 and 7. 2 and 7. So again, they're on alternating sides of that transversal, and they're outside of the double lines. Okay, so 1 and 8, 2 and 7. Those are your alternate exterior angles. What I was also going to show you is if the transversal looks like this, okay, in this bottom right corner. What's the major difference between what we've been doing and what that picture looks like? Yeah, it looks flipped. So here's what will happen. Oops, sorry, go back. Here's what will happen. Our box was more horizontal in this left because the double lines were more left and right. Whereas here, our double lines are up and down. So your box would not look like this, but look more like this. So what would my external angles be? 1, 3, 8, and 6. Okay? So alternate exterior, you said it, would be 1 and 8 still, and 3 and 6. Okay? So even if it looked like this, they would be outside of the double lines. Okay? We're going to do interior, alternate interior. So it's the same idea, except for now they're going to be between or inside of the double lines. All right, inside and alternating. All right, so what will happen is you're going to have angles like 3 and 6. Okay, they're on the inside of our two lines, and they're across from each other on the transversal. Okay, so we got 3 and 6. What do you think the next set would be?
4 and 5.
4 and 5. Good. That's where the word alternating comes from, like hopping across the line. Consecutive is not on my PowerPoint, but we're going to do it together. We're from Trinity Christian Academy, where we have consecutive something. We have consecutive state championships. What does consecutive mean?
Arrow. Consistent.
Right after.
One after the other. What did you say?
In a row.
In a row. I thought you said arrow. So I was like, no, that's not it at all. In a row, back to back, things like that. So whenever you have, because we're going to do consecutive on this page, because I don't have a slide for that, and I apologize. But consecutive does mean back to back, but what else goes with consecutive? On your page. What's the name of these angles?
Interior.
Consecutive and interior. So where do you think these angles are? On the inside. So again, you want to highlight that box. Highlight that box. They're going to be on the same side of the transversal. So if you want to write that down, on the same side of the transversal. So on the same side of our transversal. Again, what is the transversal in this picture?
Straight line. The vertical line.
Yeah, the vertical, kind of vertical line. Here, that's your transversal. So we're talking about the angles that are on the same side, inside of this box, and on the same side of this transversal. So 3 is on the inside. What is on the same side of the transversal as 3? 5. 4 is on the right side of the transversal, and 3 is on the left. So those are not consecutive. All right, so 3 and 5, 4 and 6. Okay, they're on the same side of their transversal. So 3 and 5 are on the left, 4 and 6 are on the right. That's what makes them consecutive. Okay? We're almost finished. Those are the 4 new relationships. The next 2 we've talked about in chapter 1. We're just going to refresh together what they are. Okay? But here's what I want to emphasize to you. Okay? Alternate interior angles. Where are both of the angles? On alternate interior angles.
Inside.
They're both on the inside of the double lines. Can one of them be on the outside and one of them be on the inside?
No.
No, because then they wouldn't be interior angles. So if you have one that's on the outside of the box and one that's on the inside of the box, my thought would be, is this corresponding? Because you're about to do that. Decide what relationships they are. If they're both on the inside, they'll either be alternate interior or consecutive interior. If they're both on the outside, then they'll most likely just be alternate exterior. Okay? And if they're neither, I would check if they're corresponding. Okay? Here is the last. This will actually help us tomorrow. It's not necessarily what we're doing today. But we have vertical angles. What do vertical angles share? A vertex. They share a vertex. And where are they located in reference to each other?
Across.
They're across from each other. So they share a vertex. They're across from each other. This is on the next page. You have heard this before, I'm sure. Share a vertex. They're across from each other. This one you'll need the many colors again. So they share a vertex, and they are across from each other. So now we are going to highlight them. We have this angle, which would be vertical to this angle across. Okay, they only touch by a vertex. They don't have a wall directly between them. Then we have this angle and the angle directly across. All right, what do you think we do with the bottom intersection? Same thing. This top left angle will be vertical to this angle over here. And then these two angles. I did Captain America colors and the Hulk colors. You're welcome. Do y'all watch the Avengers?
Yes.
I'm more of a Marvel person myself. Miss Hat, however, is a DC person. If you know anything about those.
Yes.
Anyways, I'm going to go with Marvel. It's fine. We have linear pairs. This one is actually harder for you to draw because linear pairs, they are upside down T's. So here's the thing. They share a wall, they form a straight line. You have heard this before, but also, oops, sorry. So they share a wall. Sharing a wall means, yeah, they're adjacent, yeah, exactly. That means that they have a wall like wedged between them. Like Mr. Cosin is right next door. He shares this literal wall with me. Some people look at this and say, well, who is it? Doesn't Miss Judd share that wall with you? It would mean like Miss Judd would be on the the very opposite side of that wall, which is not true. Some people take it, and I don't know. So when I say they share a wall, they have a wall directly in between them. You're looking for upside down T's. There are a ton of them. Because this angle is linear to this angle. But it's also linear to this angle. Do you see what I'm saying? This one is harder to depict with colors because they're literally, when they're next to each other in these type of pictures, they're all going to be linear pairs. So these two are linear, these two are linear, these two are linear, these two are linear. I think I got them all. These two are linear, these two are linear, these two are linear. You see what I'm saying? So you can depict that how you would like. I did this kind of thing earlier. These two are linear. But then these two are, these two are also linear because they form a straight line. But then these two are also linear. And then these two are linear. It's just hard to show that to you. Basically, if they're next to each other, they're going to be linear. All right, and the same thing with the bottom. I also showed them this way. These two are linear, 1 and 2. 2 and 3 would be linear. 3 and 4 are linear. And 4 and 1 are linear. So whatever works best for you. But each angle will be linear with 2 other angles. So you don't have to color that. You can if you so choose to. The angles of the given type. So corresponding is the first one we're doing. We're doing that example right before the review. Corresponding means they what?
They correspond.
They correspond, yes. They occupy the same spot at their intersection. So where is angle 1?
Top left.
Top left. So what's in the top left of the other intersection? 5, I agree. So angle 1 and angle 5. Angle 2, what do we think about that one? To the top right. What is also in the top right? Angle 6. I agree. angle 3, and angle 7. I agree. Please make sure you answer like this if I ask you on your homework to label them. You need to have the angle symbol. Takes 0.5 extra seconds to do an angle symbol. All right, 4 and angle 8. Now it asks for alternate interior. Okay, so how can I see what's interior and what's exterior? Draw my box. Okay, so here's my box. So I want what's on the interior, which would be these angles. And then they need to alternate across what? The transversal, which would be this line. Here's your transversal. All right, so what is angle, oh, I already have it started. Angle 2, what does that alternate with?
7.
Angle 7. So angle 2, angle 7. Angle 4 and angle 5. Good. Now we need alternate exterior. Here we go. Alternate exterior, so I should be looking outside of my wonky box. All right, let's start with angle 1. What's angle 1?
Angle 8.
Angle 8 or alternate exterior. And that means angle 3 and
6.
angle 6. You're good. Angle 3 and angle 6. Last is consecutive interior. So we got inside of here. Consecutive means what? Same side of the transversal. The transversal. I'm gonna pop. So we need on the same side of the transversal. So what's on the same side is 2? 5. They're both on the top. So 2 and 5, and then 4 and 7. Ta-da. Yeah. Ta-da. Here's what you're going to do while I walk around and give you your project for a few minutes. Your homework is right in the top right. You're not going to work on that. But what you will do is go to your worksheet. On the B side, you're going to do 7 through 11. You're classifying them as corresponding alternate interior, alternate exterior, or consecutive interior. I would just like to check that you are understanding before you start. Okay?